Hello, this is Universal Soul Love. I'm Lana Love.
And Detective David Love.
And we're here for World Kindness Day, which was on November the 13th. And in fact, the whole of November is the month of kindness. And with us today is Nirmala Mehendale, the founder, trustee, and general secretary of the World Kindness Movement in India. Kindness Unlimited.
Nirmala is here to support our Global Peace teleconference event that we actually had quite a while ago, and we've had a few ups and downs in trying to get the videos delivered. We wanted to get this out on World Kindness Day, but again, we're going to be kind to ourselves, and this is World Kindness Month. But thank you for coming back, Nirmala, to support us with our Global Peace teleconference event. I'm very honored to have you with us today to give us an inspirational message on world kindness and global peace, and just tell us all about what you've been doing with Kindness Unlimited. Very excited to hear about the latest developments and updates.
Right. So thank you, and happy to be given an opportunity to talk about what I do. And so I'm grateful for that opportunity. So as president of the World Kindness Movement, we are a platform to encourage other organizations to continue doing kindness. And being part of this large movement is an honor. This year on World Kindness Day, we encouraged everyone just to take an hour off from their devices and, move from virtual kindness to some kind of real kindness, right? Because you can do a lot of good online, but I think all of us have had an overdose of being digitally connected in the pandemic, right? So it was time to just say, can I be kind to myself? A lot of us have suffered in the pandemic, and I cannot help somebody else unless I'm first okay, and healed myself. And so we encourage people to take that time off either for themselves, and if they can, to do something else for another, and if they could further do something for the planet, which could be for our environment. So it was initially we said, oh, should we have a fixed hour? And we realized I think it would be kind to give everybody a chance to pick any hour of their choice, and that would be kindest, since we're looking at letting people do at something at the time they choose. And now we're looking at possibly extending that to an hour of kindness every day. So can we encourage people to consciously say, when I go for a walk, I won't carry my mobile device with me, and I'll focus on what's around. Or would I just take some silent time or meditate, or connect with a friend fully? Because very often today, when we're talking to a friend face to face, having coffee, the phone beeps and there's a notification, and we don't realize that person is telling you their whole life and their whole heart-wrenching story. And even that glance on that phone sometimes can, without unconsciously, we do all these things unconsciously. So I was happy that our youth team pulled this off. And coming back to Kindness Unlimited, which I lead in India and which was formed 16 years ago, which is a voluntary run movement, we've been working on nutrition for the tribal children because they were the most affected in the pandemic. So I kind of moved my work from the cities to the rural areas. And we have over 50 villages now we work with around the state that I live in, Maharashtra. And we have this, we buy, certain grains from the farmers, get it powdered, give it back to the kids. So we're trying to make this a sustainable project where we're not sending stuff from the city. So there's stuff that the village produces, and the village realizes to value what they have and to consume that, which is highly nutritious. Having understood that, I hit on this idea thanks to a friend who's grown 1 million trees. And I said, oh my goodness, if we plant a tree today, in 4 or 5 years, we'll have fruits. And if we have the whole village, so this is not about few people, the whole village having a few trees that they own, we would have nutrition right at our backyard. And then possibly the tribals will learn that they can sell and monetize it. And the biggest bonus is we have a greener planet. And we have that part, which, as we know, everybody is talking so much about. So
Good
these
point.
are two large projects
That
we
leads right into global peace, doesn't it?
Yes, very much, because
Kind of the planet.
kindness leads to peace.
Mm.
I look at it as a stepping stone. It's kindness. First starts compassion. I need to feel for someone. Then I need to want to act on that. So I see somebody hungry. I may feel something. But when I feel something, do I want to offer that sandwich or that fruit and share it with someone? And so kindness is an act, right? I may feel compassion and may not be prompted to act on it, right? And then you have world peace, because if all of us go around acting more kindly, we have a better world. So I've been working with Rotary for a long time, and so I always tell them, peace and kindness are interconnected.
Absolutely. Universal Soul Love is now a
Yeah.
organizational member of World Kindness Movement. We're quite proud of that and honored. And thank you so much. You were there to interview us for our candidacy.
A pleasure. You can
yeah.
even refer us to other organizations, because the bigger the family, the stronger we'll be. And I jokingly say the kinder networks need to really get strong, because the terror networks are automatically strong,
Yes.
right?
That's very true. Yes, and it's good to see you talking about kindness as a practical thing. That's a very good point. It's
Right.
perhaps no good just being empathic. It's actually important to actually get off your feet and do something. And it's beautiful. Your projects are so practical.
I know.
Such a great idea.
You're talking about kindness to self, and you're talking about kindness to others and kindness to the planet by planting the trees. And I guess I'm just mentioning this so that everyone can see the progression that you're talking about, because I guess a lot of people don't see kindness as being practical. I mean, this is what we've had in this conference that we've been dealing with as an issue, the anger and the rage around world issues. And I know a lot of the other speakers in the teleconference have touched upon that. I don't know if you want to go into that a little bit, because it is quite relevant, and I guess we need to address that. We don't, it's kind of unavoidable, because I guess is it reasonable anger? I mean, it's certainly reasonable, but what I'm saying is, I guess every time when a person's angry, it's a form of communication. So people are communicating their anger. I think that's reasonable.
And it's good to counter that, I think, with kindness acts. I think that's what we need more than ever before in the world.
I mean, connecting to what you said, right? Anger is not bad, right?
No.
And the challenge is, how do I channelize my anger, right? So to be angry is fine, and as I understand Aristotle has said, to be angry is easy. But to be angry for the right reason, for the right purpose, for the right time, and in the right manner is not so easy. I guess what we are offering today is not a recipe for healing everything, but it definitely is a recipe for people who would like to choose it as a path to manage their frustration and anger. At least for me, when I have a problem and I think about it a lot, then there's analysis paralysis and the anger is not going away, right? But when I stop and say, what can I do about it? It can be like a small headache that's recurring for 15 days, but I haven't done anything about it. I'm just saying, like popping a pill, but I haven't gone, which I should be, getting it off my chest and having a scan or visiting a doctor, so that I get relieved and I get someone to tell me that I'm fine, or am I imagining it? But unless you act, sometimes for some of us, we don't feel that relief because it's frustrating feeling helpless.
Yes.
So, yeah, you feel very helpless. Yeah. So for me, it has been, rather than feel helpless, can I control certain areas, which are few, but can I just go out and do something about it? Which is within my circle of influence. And all of us have heard this theory for years, right? That you have a circle of influence and a circle of control. And and you have certain things you can't do anything about. So are you going and there are certain things that converge between these circles, But are we sitting and pausing and saying, this is the best I can do? And it calms me down and it makes me feel useful as a human that I've helped even one person. All of us are being pushed to talk of scale. We've been pushed to think of I'm successful only if I've touched 1 million lives and only if I have $1 million in my pocket. This is self-made. It's a pressure that we put on ourselves. But even helping one human being is so huge because that one human being is connected to hundreds of other human beings. And that's the way I look at it. And I tell myself it's not one human being, it's that one human being who has a family, friends, a whole circle around, And so I say, okay, then it's not just one, right? Let me go out and do that and not feel bad that I just connected with
That's
one.
actually, that's very true. It's a beautiful attitude to have. Tell us, do you have many other projects that you're working on?
We do a lot of creative stuff because we are run by youth. And we're in India, we're a youth-driven movement. So the Instagram, everything is done by youth. So I'll give you a small example about yesterday. We had the Teach for India scholars. You have the Teach for America and some other countries have it, where they volunteer 2 years of their time to be attached to a school which has underprivileged children and to have that experience. And they're paid a scholarship stipend. So the brightest minds apply for that scholarship. So they were given to me and said, Nirmala, you have 2-3 hours with them and give them an experience and let them experience Kindness Unlimited. So to tell you, the first thing is Kindness Unlimited is a movement. So we don't own property or land. I'm always using somebody else's land or organization to talk about myself. So the first thing is, where do I meet them? So let me give it, because again, people think I need a huge office and I need all this, and I have nothing. So I say, what do I do? And then I said, hey, I have friends here who have a school for the persons with intellectual disability. And they have this beautiful campus. So I called them and said, can we have a meeting? And this is regular. I'm just giving you an absolute yesterday's example. Can I have a meeting in your beautiful venue? 9 out of 10 times people say, come. They want to be kind as well. And they're thinking that the request is not so audacious. It's just a meeting room. And I said that you talk about your work too, because you've done so much of work in this cause, right? Because families are so affected when they have a child born with a disability. So we met over there in this beautiful venue, and I gave 20 minutes to that head to speak about their organization, which was called Dilkush. Dilkush means a heart full of joy. It just happened to be. And after that, I spoke about Kindness Unlimited, and I said, I can't speak about kindness because I can't theorize kindness with you. You got to feel it. So what I did was I had 200 rupees, which should be equal to less than $3, let's put it that way, into envelopes, right? And I had 10 kids who came over. Each of the kids were given an envelope with this, money. And we were in an area which had a lot of people. It was near the beach, and a lot of people selling stuff and trying to earn a living on a daily basis. Now, if you realize you're talking of India and you're talking of a country which has a lot of challenges, economic challenges it's faced in the pandemic. So a lot of them were not even able to sell. You can imagine in a lockdown, you can't even sell your goods, right? So how, and they don't have a saving. So I said, first of all, walk around and scan. It's not about someone begging. I'm honoring the person who's hardworking and is refusing to beg and trying to make a livelihood on a daily basis. So scan around and find them and see whether you can hit up a conversation, because we don't go around talking to strangers and we don't go around finding out. And so I gave them all kinds of examples. If the product is like, peanuts, buy a packet and say, hey guy, how have you been? And, once he warms up, then you're successful. Your success is based on whether you can get the other person to open up. And after all that saying, I totally understand. It's because of you guys that the city runs. We never honor them. Without them, the city would close down. We're honoring the big CEOs, but it's the guy who sweeps my street that makes my city run. It's not the CEOs. It's the guy who actually brings my milk and brings my paper. They're the ones who make my city, and they're the heroes, and they're the most ignored in the chain. So after the kids went around, I said, the last thing is this gift and run. So you're not here to, say how great you are. You're just saying, hey, we've been told to give people we meet and just run. And so these kids did it, and today they've told me that I told them to give me an experiential video audio. So they're all going to send me their experiences. So I'm talking about, there's so many ideas that you can inspire people with. So I spent 2 hours, but I inspired 10 kids who are in their 20s, right? And I'm hoping out of them, even 2 of them will continue surprising a stranger with a kind act.
That's beautiful. And it's interesting that your focus is on young people, the people that are going to make our earth in the future, the people that are going to go on and carry on and influence. That's amazing. It's beautiful.
So schools and colleges have been our primary focus up to below 30, 35, because we don't have many resources. So we've got to decide where to focus. Right. So in fact, our youth came out with the line that our goal is reimagining India to Kindia.
Beautiful. Wow. Really beautiful. And can you tell us about the World Kindness Movement generally? How old is the World Kindness Movement?
Oh, so we are entering our silver jubilee year next year, which would be 25 years.
Wow. 25 years. Wow.
Yeah. 25 years of chipping away in a small way, but never giving up. Right? So one Japanese doctor who came and brought the idea and said kindness matters, kindness connects, kindness is the only interconnection that can bring humanity together, because an act of kindness brings two people together.
True.
And I say not just two people, sometimes hundreds of people if there are observers around. So an act of kindness can be countless, because you don't know, if it's in a public space, you might inspire the entire bus or the coach in a train, right? So the World Kindness Movement started, and we now have around 30 members from countries across the world. Our latest was Mongolia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah, Mongolia, Jordan, Bangladesh. They did some awesome stuff this World Kindness Day. And I tell people that, you must celebrate this day because you're part of this movement. And this day belongs to us. This day was born of us. Most people don't know. It's now that UNESCO officially, if you go out there and look, UNESCO Mahatma Gandhi says now that the World Kindness Day was born of the World Kindness Movement. In 98. And so it starts with a dream. It starts with one person. You don't know where it will fly, but what I really like is everybody has been consistently believing, and there may not have been huge miracles along the way, but I think our tipping point is coming. I mean, at least I can sense that we are somewhere. People have begun talking about this. People have acknowledging it. Building compassionate leaders is the only way to have a better world.
You make a very good point. Amazing. We do need more compassionate leaders. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, what we're seeing with world events, with COVID in particular, is a lot of division and a lot of opposition between people with different views. When people ask me, why did we do this conference and why are we focusing on kindness and global peace at this time? Because this is when we really need it. We need to be bringing people together. And that's exactly what you said kindness does.
Kindness is about treating other people with respect and with love, and not seeing the division and seeing yourself in the other person. And I think that's beautiful.
Being open. Yeah.
And I think it's really fantastic.
Sometimes we haven't healed enough, right? So when we're not healed enough, we got to only understand that we need to do more work on ourselves. And I realized leaders who've done that hard work are in a little better place, because they worked hard on themselves, because they understand they're human and vulnerable. And it takes a lot of courage to be kind.
I think it's fantastic that you're involving young people and teaching them those principles. And I think it will be...
I'd like to end with the story I told you last time, because that always stays about the cup of tea. right? So when I ask people how many people got you a cup of tea today, I get all kinds of numbers, right? And someone says, I made it myself, my mom made it, something else, right? But you and I know the real answers. We don't know the number of people responsible for a cup of tea.
That's true.
Yeah.
I
It
see what
could
you
be
mean.
thousands, it could be, I don't know, millions. It has. Your tea might come from India, might come
Mm,
from Sri Lanka, might come from Darjeeling. It might have had hundreds of people working on the tea plantation. You have the dairy if you're putting milk in. You have the sugar industry if you're putting sugar in. You have the bone china or the China industry. You have the logistic. How can we think that we can do everything on our own and we don't live in an interconnected world when we can't drink even a single cup of tea without millions of people being
mm,
involved? To me, that example is puts me in my place.
that's really good. I'm going to tell you something interesting before we go. So I put out press releases for our membership and World Kindness Movement, and I put out one for this teleconference a couple of weeks ago, hoping to get them out, to getting everything done before World Kindness Day on the 14th, which didn't happen, obviously, because we're here, but that's okay. But what happened with the press releases was really unexpected and really interesting. When I looked at where the press releases were distributed, I was quite surprised. We saw that it went to a lot of news blogs, online news blogs, and some of them were NATO. There was the World Health Organization. There was a lot of those types of institutions that people seem to be angry with. And but our press releases to celebrate World Kindness Day ended up somehow being part of these
kind of ironic.
institutions. It's very ironic. And
Yes,
you know, and I've thought about this in the past. You know, some of these organizations, mind you, are NATO. The people that work there, they may, if you don't mind taking yourself out of your own belief system and trying to think about why they might be doing what they're doing, they may think that they're actually keeping the world safe, and possibly maybe they are. I don't know. Look, because we don't know everything. We make judgment. A lot of people say the United Nations is evil. I'm just going to come right out and say it. I hear that all the time. Lana and I have been to the United Nations. We have special consultative status. This is with ECOSOC. So these are all charitable organizations. We went there, we met a lot of wonderful people. I have to tell you that are part of the UN in an extended way. You know, we're not talking about the higher echelons of the United Nations. We're talking
We met a lot of very well-meaning people who wear their heart on their sleeves and really are trying to make a difference to the world.
Yeah.
But as you said rightly, David, our judgments come from our beliefs and our perceptions. And we don't like to say that my biases and beliefs can be wrong at times, right? And I'm not ready to challenge them because I would have met 5 people of a particular race or religion or whatever, and I'll make a judgment. But there might be 5 million of them around. How could I judge an entire community because I have 5 people I know? You know, and so we're not humble enough to say, let me check this out, let me do a little more deep diving in an open mind, because once I close my mind and I'm doing any deep diving, I've already decided the outcome of my research and I wanted to go in a particular way, so I pre-program myself, right? So I hear you, and yes, it's something that if we have critical thinking, especially young people, and can question in a genteel way and probe, I think we'd have a better, you know, I think there's a lack of critical thinking skills.
I think there's a lack of motivation for people generally to be kind. So I think it's terrific that this is a movement. And I hope that this movement becomes a very popular movement. I hope that kindness becomes cool.
We're going to keep working at it.
Yes, that would be a great thing to do. And I think with this movement, it's got the potential to go there.
I was going to say, just on that last bit, there was, I was thinking of this, it was a couple of months ago. You know, we see women walking around with burqas, and you know, we've had concern about that we feel like maybe they're being forced, and it's Australia and they shouldn't have to do that. We've talked about this, you know, out of concern that we don't feel that women should be forced, but that's our belief system again. And one day I was in a grocery store, and there were two women. They were wearing them, and I stopped to talk to them, and we got into a really good conversation. I said, if you don't mind, since we've been talking for a while, I'd just like to ask you about your burqa, because we've had some concerns that, we understand from the news media that you're being forced, and I'm just wondering what your views are on that. And one of the women, she kind of smiled and laughed a bit and she said, oh, no, not at all. This is my cultural identity. My husband actually doesn't want me to wear this. He feels embarrassed, but I want to. It's a cultural identity. And I said, that's so, I got to tell my wife. I'm not saying that's like that for everyone, but it's just that prejudging. And I just had to mention that because you brought that up.
I hear you, and thank you. Yeah, we prejudge, even cultures, right? So if someone eats with their hand or someone eats with, it can be as small as that. And I might feel, eating with a fork and spoon is an evolved way, but who has decided that? Then my entire country eats with their hands. And in fact, we're so happy because it's food and we value the food and we want a direct connection to our mouth. Right? And, and we don't use paper and we wash our hands. So sometimes we don't know what's the meaning of developed or what's the meaning of, progressive, because we're not even thinking deep enough. Most men in my city wear handkerchiefs, but they will not use tissue. They wash their handkerchiefs every single day. And it's just cloth, and it's not about, and you have a long lecture on saving trees and but you've created a whole culture where everybody uses a tissue or a napkin every second of the day, even to sneeze. So these are questions we have to ask, what is the definition of developed?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's really interesting to approach things with kindness, because it gets rid of the bias and discrimination and criticism.
I like to find myself wrong sometimes, like in those instances. Sometimes you don't want to be right. It's a relief when you find out you're wrong.
It takes a lot of courage to accept that, right? That you are wrong. And to go back to someone and say, I thought a lot about it, and I think you have a very valid point of view.
Beautiful.
It's not easy to do that. To say sorry, to apologize, to be grateful, to express, to appreciate, they're all part of kindness.
Absolutely.
And very often we are really hard on the people we love the most.
That's very true.
And that's ironic. It's ironic because we are making, sometimes total strangers feel happy, but not asking ourselves, what did I do? What did I say to mom this morning? So it's tough when you love people too.
It's important that kindness is spread everywhere, evenly, family, community, and politically. So it's look, I wanted to congratulate you once again for
congratulations on everything.
founding such an important movement, and we really hope it takes off.
We're so just grateful to be a part of it as well, and to do this with you and help celebrate kindness.
Thank you.
All the very best with your future projects, and lovely to talk to you.
Same here. Have a lovely evening, you too.